Today we're going to talk about solving two-step equations. So that's solving for a variable that is going to take you more than one step to do. This is really similar to solving a one-step equation. You're just going to have to repeat the steps. And the only new thing that you need to know is when you are solving, you're going to use reverse order of operations. And you'll see what I mean as we go through some of the examples. So this first example is 300 equals 120 plus 5h. So your first step is still going to be the same. You're going to look at what is being done to your variable, which is h. Except in this case, we have two things being done to it. First, it's being multiplied by 5, and it's also being 120 is being added to it. So when I talked about reverse order of operations, what I mean is normally if you were solving this and using order of operations, you would do the multiplication first. But in this case, since we're working backwards, we're going to do addition and subtraction first. And that's what we're going to get rid of. So the first thing we get rid of is 120 because that's what's being added. So to undo this addition of 120, we do the opposite, which is subtraction, and minus 120 from both sides. So now we're left with 280 over here equals 5h because this cancels out. So now this equation should look very familiar to you. It's very similar to what we've just gone over. We have 280 equals 5h. So what's being done to h? Well, it's being multiplied by 5. To undo multiplication, we divide both sides by 5. These cancel out, and we're left with h equals 36. Now, the last step, always check your work. So substitute in the value for h that you solved for. You said that h equals 36. So I put 36 in here. 5 times 36 plus 120 is supposed to equal 300. Let's see if that's correct. 5 times 36 is 180. So I bring that down, and I bring the 120 down. 180 plus 120 equals 300, and that's exactly what I'm supposed to get, so we are correct. Okay, here's a second example. In this example, we have 12 plus n divided by 4 equals 0. And of course, we want to solve for the variable n. Now, what's being done to n? Well, it's being divided, n by 4, and 12 is being added to it. Just like the previous problem, we'll work with addition and subtraction first. So to undo this addition of 12, we need to subtract 12 from both sides. When we do that, this cancels out, and over here we're left with n over 4 equals 0 minus 12 is negative 12. Move on. We have to undo the division. So since it's being divided by 4, the opposite of division is multiplication. We're going to multiply both sides by 4. That will cancel these 4's out, and we'll be left with n on the left side. And then you need to also remember a negative times a positive is going to equal a negative. So our answer will be negative 48. And again, our last step is to check our work. So we have n equals negative 48. Let's substitute negative 48 in for n. So now doing order of operations, we have to do division first. So we have negative 48 divided by 4 equals negative 12. 12 plus negative 12 equals 0, and that checks out. Okay, this is going to be our last example, and we did some of these in class the other day. If you have a subtraction sign and a negative sign, from the first unit we talked about changing this to an addition problem, and that's going to be your first step before you do anything else. So 4x, change this to addition, plus, and then you have to find the opposite of the second integer. So the opposite of negative 7 is 7 equals negative 17. And now Once you've done that, you're ready to start to solve for the variable x. So our first step is going to be to undo this addition. So since 7's being added, let's subtract 7 from both sides. So this cancels out. We're left with 4x equals negative 17 minus 7. It's going to give us negative 24. Now we want to undo the multiplication of the 4, so we divide both sides by 4, and we get a negative divided by a positive is going to give us a negative, so our answer is negative 6. Now we need to check our work, so substitute negative 6 in for x. 4 times negative 6 plus 7. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24 plus 7 is going to equal negative 17. So our answers check out. Okay, things to remember for this lesson. Look at what is being done to the variable. Then you're going to undo that. Repeat until the variable is alone. So you're going to just repeat all of the steps of undoing what's being done to the variable until the variable is alone. And the last thing that you need to remember is reverse order of operations. And now here are some practice problems to do on your own.